Welcome, everybody, to day 2 of the 2022 Charged Up Preseason Panels. We're incredibly excited to welcome everybody who was able to catch the previous stream, and in case you missed it, the previous streams will be posted in a playlist from our channel. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat box, and we'll get back to them after the panels conclude. Now, let's give a warm welcome to our presenter, Irina Kay from Team Spider, for Equality, Diversity, and Inclusion in FRC.
Okay, thank you. Let me just get that shared. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to the Fall Series EDI training. So let's begin. So a bit about me. My name is Irina Kozenkova. I'm a junior at Poway High, and this is my third year on Team Spider. Currently, I'm a mechanism lead for FRC, meaning I lead the team to design and manufacture a mechanism for the robot during the build season. I also mentor both of our FTC teams and help with the training of their members, since I've been involved with FTC for the 2 prior seasons. I'm the SWENEX, NCUA, and WeSTEM Prez at our school, which are programs that help support women in STEM and encourage them to pursue more in the field. I'm also a WeSTEM ambassador and an LGBTQ FIRST representative. I will talk more about these individual programs later. As for hobbies, I enjoy doing digital art on IBIS Paint. Of course, I do mechanical work for robotics, and playing board games with friends, even formed a club for it. So, equality. Well, equity. Equality indicates a system where everyone has the same opportunities and resources, a one-size-fits-all approach to human rights. At first glance, equality might seem reasonable. A class where every student has the same course materials, is graded by the same standards, or a workplace where everyone is held to the same expectations. The catch with equality, though, is that even if everyone gets the same opportunities, they are not starting from the same place. And even if expectations are the same, people may need different resources to meet these expectations. In the classroom, for instance, a student learning English as a second language might struggle to keep up with assignments and lectures that are all in English. In the workplace, a single parent responsible for childcare might not be able to dedicate long hours to a project the way their child-free colleagues more easily could. And for robotics specifically, this can, for example, be seen with rookies who have not had as much experience with STEM and who might have difficulties keeping up with veterans. Quality-based treatment may even penalize people for the different obstacles they face. The student might get a lower grade despite hard work, and the parent might be passed over for promotions because they don't seem dedicated. In organizational initiatives, equality may play out as a commitment to multiculturalism or a service to everyone, which again sounds like a worthwhile goal. But this goal often overlooks the fact that every group has different needs. A networking event for young Black professionals might not be considered equal or multicultural since it's not open for all to attend, but still fulfills a crucial function. And when programs are designed for a specific population, like a discussion group for teens who identify as LGBTQ+, or a health clinic for unhoused local residents, they don't have to serve everyone. They're targeted towards the specific communities for a reason. Programs that give everyone equal access to these resources might diminish the positive impact for communities that really need them, eventually becoming ineffective. If you prioritize equality in your programs, what you're probably really going for is equity, a different system that's more difficult to achieve. Equity is a system that recognizes that each person has different resources and opportunities and seeks to understand and provide what people need based on these differences. According to Merriam-Webster, equity is a kind of justice that includes freedom from bias or favoritism. Equity, unlike equality, acknowledges different populations face different barriers to success and works to limit or eliminate these barriers. As you might imagine, equity is harder work than equality. Take a look at the image on the slides, which many of you are familiar with, I'm sure. In the equality image, 3 people of different heights observe a sports game from behind a tall fence. They're all equally positioned, but only the tallest person can see the game. In the equity image, the 2 short people have wooden blocks to stand on, enabling them to see over the fence. Like most broad metaphors, this one is imperfect. The image implies that the short people are to blame for their own unequal circumstances. Even equity-based systems can fall into this trap. Organizations may operate on the false assumption that minorities are lesser than others and thus need more. Organizations working towards equity might also unintentionally engage in deficit thinking, a thought process that holds people responsible for the disadvantages that they face. Justice, on the other hand, focuses on the systemic barriers that prevent people from reaching their goals, not characteristics of the people themselves. When a justice image is added to the graphic above, the fence disappears. The problem wasn't that the observers were too short, but that the system was set up for them to fail. And the systemic change, unlike the individual fixes, is permanent. All future observers can now enjoy the game. To bring us back to look at this under the context of robotics and STEM, we can remove the fence through methods such as providing adequate training to rookies prior to the start of the season, letting everyone have equal opportunities to participate in each sub-team, and making events accessible to those with disabilities, such as providing wheelchair ramps. So, diversity. Diversity refers to the ways in which people are different. The makeup of citizens in the United States has shown that ethnically the country is changing rapidly. The different ethnicities also bring about various cultures, religions, and worldviews. Since businesses, companies, politicians, etc., will serve directly and impact all citizens, it is important that we all embrace diversity. This helps ensure that ideas, opinions, suggestions, and governing laws are representative of the people served. Diversity encompasses all demographic variables, seen and unseen, regarding a person. Diversity happens when individuals and groups from wide-ranging backgrounds come together for a common goal. If a person values diversity, it means that they are making a proactive effort to be tolerant, non-biased, or show any prejudice to others. This means that a person is free to celebrate the differences of others and what those differences can bring in terms of the particular setting or climate that they occupy together. Visible diversity refers to the immediately observable physical characteristics that can be seen when looking at someone. These things oftentimes cannot always be changed as they're usually born into. Examples of visible diversity include someone's race, disability, physical, age, or gender. Sometimes culture and religion can also fall under the visible diversity if a person is wearing a garb that is specific to a certain religion or culture. Characteristics that cannot outwardly be seen that a person either picks up along the way, oftentimes from personal or environmental influence, often fall under invisible diversity. Invisible diversity traits are not always something that someone was born with. Examples of invisible diversity are religion, education, socioeconomic status, familial status, sexuality, and culture. Personal diversity refers to the individual blend of visible and invisible diversity traits. These include a number of elements that form a person's personal view of the world. Some examples are political view, personality traits, general worldview, life experiences, and familial upbringing. Having multiple kinds of diversity is important on the robotics team and the STEM field in general, because it provides everyone with a variety of new perspectives and ideas in regards to a subject. For example, somebody from a different culture might value solving certain issues, such as the need to be environmentally sustainable, over decreasing costs, or vice versa. Promoting diversity also encourages more people to join, especially after seeing someone like them involved. Some people that may be vitally important, and they would more likely join a diverse team over one just filled with cis white males. And of course, the most basic reason for including diversity on a team is simply in order to provide everyone with equal opportunity to participate and succeed in the STEM field, not close doors for anyone. And inclusion. Inclusion refers to ensuring that every single person on the team is treated fairly and equally. It is the practice or policy of providing equal access to opportunities and resources for people who might otherwise be excluded or marginalized. Additionally, it could also mean taking steps to ensure that everyone feels like they're a part of a group and work towards their goals as a collective. This doesn't just improve member morale, but it encourages collaboration and open communication, which gives the organization a solid foundation on which they can work. There are many reasons to work towards building a diverse and inclusive team. The first of which is that have a diverse team. You get a wider range of ideas for improving the robot designs, communication networks, and moving forward as a team. People from different backgrounds will have their own input when meeting with the team, which is very valuable regardless of the field or industry. But aside from attracting talents, diverse and inclusive teams are better at getting them to stay. On top of all of that, having a diverse and inclusive team also helps in terms of numbers. Innovation can drive success when running a team. A great way to build an innovative and creative team is by finding members who can come from different cultural backgrounds and provide their own unique input. Building a diverse and inclusive team has to start from the top. That's why organizations looking to create a more diverse team need to ensure that coaches and leaders are briefed on the importance of diversity and why they need to take steps to ensure that everyone feels like they're on the same team. That way, current and new students will feel that culture right away. As for ideas on how to demonstrate better inclusion on the team, y'all can start off with providing equal opportunities for everyone to contribute to each sub-team. Many teams practice this in theory. However, I've noticed in the past that there were unsaid divides over who works on mechanical or outreach or photography or etc. By truly practicing inclusion, will the members notice someone wanting to participate in a sub-team and train them accordingly rather than just tossing them in the deep end, or on the opposite end of the spectrum, just assigning them menial tasks such as cleaning the workshop. On a similar note, teams can also practice inclusion by not dividing members too much based on experience. Of course, experience is important, however, that does not mean that all important design choices should be done by the veterans. By facilitating an active discussion where each member is well informed, then will true inclusion be demonstrated. Similarly, training the rookies well prior to the start of the season and giving them important tasks in accordance to their skill level is another good way of showing inclusion. So, in order to help facilitate promoting EDI in your teams or schools, here's a list of programs that TeamSpar is partnered with. One of them is SWE Next, or SWE. SWE is a collegiate program, with SWE Next being an offshoot for high schools for ages 13 to 18. Then NCWIT is the National Center for Women in Information Technologies. So overall, just a global network for both high school and collegiate students in order to partner up with various outreaches, events, programs, etc. Then WeSTEM is Women in STEM, which is partnered with an individual program called Athena. This is primarily for high school students. However, collegiate students can participate in this as well. The above listed programs are for women in STEM, while LGBTQ First is for queer students, again, seeking a community within the robotics field. So, SWE Next. Research shows that girls often stop seeing themselves in fields of math and science by the time that they reach high school. To combat this phenomenon, SWE headquarters and SWE volunteers created a collection of outreach programs that seek to change the current perspective of STEM fields among girls and their adult advocates. The long-term goal of SWE's STEM outreach program is to open pathways for girls to pursue careers in engineering and technology and create gender equity in the field. The SWE Next program offers a great opportunity for students to join SWE and provides resources for parents and educators to engage girls in engineering and technology. SWE Next is a program for pre-university students who want to be a part of SWE. SWE Nexters have access to programs and resources designed to develop leadership and skills and self-confidence to #be that engineer and succeed in a career in engineering and technology. The purpose of SWE Next is to provide a way for girls to become a part of the SWE engineering and technology community as a student through ages 13 through 18, to support them through their educational development, and to inspire students to pursue careers in engineering and technology. Although SWE Next focuses on girls, all students are welcome to get involved. The mission of SWE Next is to empower students to prepare for careers in technology and engineering, to provide programs for students to develop leadership skills and self-confidence to succeed in careers in engineering and technology, to expand the image of engineering and technology professions as a positive force in improving the quality of life, to demonstrate the value of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and to provide opportunities to learn and network with peers, role models, and engineering professionals. Students of all ages, genders are welcome to join, and clubs of any size can be formed out of school groups, local friends, and already established clubs and more. SWE strives to recognize the successes of SWE Nexters and SWE Next clubs that do exceptional work in developing a community for students to explore engineering and other STEM fields. Because of this, SweNexters and club members have the opportunity to apply for or potentially win SweNext awards. Awards include the SweNext Annual Awards and the SweNext We Local Awards. Another way students can get involved is through the SweNext High School Leadership Academy, a program that provides awareness and inspires high school students to pursue careers in engineering and technology. The SweNext High School Leadership Program provides the year-round program to provide high school students with training and development opportunities in 5 key tracks, including college preparation, STEM pathways, leadership, self-development, and inclusion and cultural awareness. And of course, being a part of SWE lets you join a worldwide community of like-minded individuals and helps you form connections, which may assist high schoolers with answering questions about the field, as well as finding future scholarships and internships. And then NCWIT. NCWIT is another program that helps with EDI, and it stands for National Center for Women and Information Technologies. NCWIT offers a variety of programs as well that help inspire and encourage individuals of all backgrounds, equip K-12 and higher education influencers with the necessary knowledge and resources to guide students, and foster virtual and in-person communities at local, regional, and national events. Participation in the program to raise awareness, increase knowledge, and empower action year-round. One such event is Aspirations in Computing, which provides encouragement and enables persistence, opens doors and changes lives for women in education from K through 12 through careers. By offering exclusive awards, scholarships, internships, community, and more, Aspirations in Computing turns barriers into possibilities. Another program is Bridge Up STEM, which provides opportunities for girls, women, and gender nonconforming individuals of all backgrounds to learn the skills of computer science and research methodology within a research university setting. Another program is The Color of Our Future, which anchors NCWIT programs, initiatives, and research-based resources focused on broadening the meaningful participation of underrepresented women and girls of color in order to positively impact the future of computing. Conversations for Change is an online thought leadership series that brings together educators, entrepreneurs, corporate executives, social scientists, and others to fully immerse themselves in research-based recommendations and peer-to-peer discussions to further inclusivity in computing. Counselors for Computing offers professional development to school counselors, providing them with essential knowledge and resources that they can use in order to effectively guide all students as they explore computer science education and careers. Then Sit With Me uses its iconic red chair to create an in-person and virtual spaces where everyone can reflect on the value of diversity and inclusion. Having these conversations for a change in a fun, creative way removes intimidation and allows challenges to be explored. The Tech Inclusion Journey is a unique, scalable software platform that empowers change in leaders for corporations and higher education institutions to implement systemic, sustainable approaches to the creation of inclusive cultures. Then next is We STEM, which is partnered with another program called Athena. In 2017, Women in STEM was founded at the University of Chicago Lab Schools as a mechanism to bridge the gap between social justice and academic fields. Recognizing the issue was the foundation for their work to be followed. Translating discussion theory to concrete action and passionate activism ultimately became the primary focus of their organization and forms of various initiatives. Since March of 2017, WeSTEM has been developing dually driven approaches in which they tackle both the attitudes surrounding women in STEM and also the limited opportunities available in high school, especially for girls. WeSTEM supports several programs, including facilitating constructive discussion, bringing in guest speakers, and partnering with universities to match high school students with college students in a mentorship program. In order to guide us in the process, the program received invaluable advice from countless sources of all genders in several fields to assist them in creating an effective, efficient, and comprehensive program. WeStem received access to quantitative research, analyze it, and develop statistics and initiatives based on and develop their initiatives based on the statistics. WeStem is excited to drive their progress forward using these tactics and increase collaboration. The gender disparity in STEM fields has been widely recognized, but few initiatives have been established at a younger age when girls decide what they want to pursue. WeStem aims to empower and inspire girls through offering a variety of opportunities at the high school level. Individuals can be part of WeStem either through participating in its chapter or through becoming an ambassador. The program is also partnered with Athena, another EDI-related program that might be beneficial to check out. Athena is not a chapter program like the ones listed previously, rather one an individual can participate in and reap great benefits. Application for membership is open all year round. Annual membership in Athena runs for every fiscal year and is renewed at the start of the next fiscal year unless the member voluntarily withdraws from the organization. Membership is automatically terminated once the member graduates from high school. The member will be added to alumni networks. Athena offers numerous networking opportunities for its members. Members frequently turn to Athena for help with activities such as finding speakers to invite and connecting with the dream mentors. Athena also offers exclusive workshops, boot camps, and conferences to its members annually. These events are not only excellent networking and learning opportunities, they also offer Athena members with the unique opportunity to interact with high-profile STEM professionals in the field, as these events tend to be smaller and more member-driven. Athena places great emphasis on community and collaboration. Athena holds regular member meetings and member-only events where members bond and maintain an active Slack server for members. The program also founded the Tulare Summer Institute along with WeStem, which is a free summer STEM research mentorship program for female and genderqueer students. Then LGBTQ FIRST is a student-run organization that seeks to create a safe and educated space for LGBTQ+ students, mentors, and volunteers of FIRST Robotics. LGBTQ FIRST has a presence in every FIRST region where they put on outreach events, educate members, and reach out to over 1,000 members. The program involves both teams and individuals who help support the community through varying degrees of involvement. Teams can sign up as partner teams through an interview. The various tiers involve bronze teams, which commit to promoting the LGBTQ FIRST at competitions and other events by handing out pins, displaying promotional materials in their pit area, and answering questions about LGBTQ FIRST. Bronze teams and all members of said teams commit to acting as supporters of the LGBTQ FIRST at all times. Silver tier are for those involved a step above the bronze tier. Silver teams additionally commit to either or optionally both of the following: hosting at least one official LGBTQ FIRST meetup per season at a regional district or world competition, championship competition, or a public community center, as well as printing out professionally made and approved LGBTQ FIRST brochures, business cards, and other feature materials. Gold tier partners are those who go above and beyond in the LGBTQ FIRST. Gold teams additionally commit to host at least one original LGBTQ FIRST themed presentation or event, meetups not included, approved by the program admins per season. Examples include roundtable discussions, presentations, seminars, community service events, and others. Individuals are able to support the program by signing up for individual positions, such as student administrators or admin, for the executive decision-making body of the LGBTQ FIRST, with the final vote on important topics. They oversee all operations and responsibilities of the organization. Only LGBTQ+ students who are currently members of an FRC or FTC team may hold this position. Representatives are the primary outreach force of LGBTQ FIRST, representing the initiative and planning and creating projects. They attend meetings, contribute ideas, and serve as the legislative body to admins. Fun fact, I'm currently serving as this position. And then ambassadors or spokespersons who represent the LGBTQ first at competition. They distribute pins, pronouns, ribbons, and other assets. So that was a bit short. If you guys have any questions about starting a team or running any of these EDI programs in your team, or just questions for me in general, ask away. Otherwise, thank you for listening.
Thank you. And once again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in chat right now. All right. So, how can individuals increase equality in FIRST?
As said previously, by trying to organize events which promote inclusivity, trying to reach out to diverse groups, as well as starting any of these programs within your school is a great way to help facilitate that in your team.
How does your team integrate SweNext into LGBTQ in Stern into your main team operations?
SWE and LGBTQ first are considered separate partnerships, which we do as a club at Poway High School. However, many of those members are part of the main team, and it just helps support us through outreaches, various awards, and stuff like that.
All right, next question. What was your favorite outreach event that helped you spread STEM to everyone?
I guess this is a recent one I went to, which was quite enjoyable. The Aluminum Narwhals hosted an LGBTQ panel, which our team collaborated with them on with. And so it was just nice to reach out to another partner team of the program, as well as just being able to present in front of an audience on the panel. So.
How successful do you think current outreach has been in its goals and expression?
The most recent outreaches have been successful, I'd say, in promoting STEM in the community. Many of the members on our team participated in over 3 or so outreaches each season, with each member hosting their own. By doing so, we've had a large impact within the community, including those related to SweNext and other EDI-related programs.
All right. What would you say is the best first step in creating a more inclusive environment in an FRC team?
I'd say the best first step is simply to reach out within the school or the community where the team is based, and just trying to involve many people of various diverse like cultures or ethnic backgrounds, etc., into the team in order to try to like get the ball rolling and like get more people to join.
Do you do specific EDI activities within your team? What types of events or examples would that be?
Okay, so some examples would, for example, be a girl in STEM night that we did for the Girl Scouts, where we helped with them with various badges. That was a couple of weeks back. And then just hosting various workshops on EDI similar to this one, and so on.
How soon can you expect to see the results of SWE and the inclusive programs pay off?
We've already seen them pay off. For example, last year, we've had many more girls join the team compared to previous years. In fact, we've gone close to the 50-50% mark. And so if we keep the programs running, we'll definitely keep on seeing the effects in the future.
What types of SWE and inclusive programs do you think are the most effective to use?
Any of the ones listed previously would be great. However, I've noticed that our team has had most success with SweNext, simply because of the community in the San Diego region. There's many SWE chapters, and so it's easy to find partnerships and networking opportunities.
How do you think these programs could be or best be expanded to reach a wider audience of people?
These programs can be expanded by just involving more members, as well as reaching out to the school and trying to get more members to join who aren't already on the team. As well as this is something that we were considering during the outreach I mentioned previously, forming a network of these chapters. For example, sort of Rainbow Web. This is just a trial like name idea that we came up with, where we have multiple teams in a region collaborate with the LGBTQ first chapters, and the same can be done with the ones I've mentioned previously. San Diego SWE is pretty active at the moment, so just forming these networks between teams would be beneficial.
All right, that seems like it for our questions. We will be coming back in about 10 minutes for our next panel.
Okay, then thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. We now have Sophia T from Team Warlords bringing us empowering women and non-binary people in STEM. Once again, feel free to leave your questions in the chat as we will be answering them at the end of the panel. Without further ado, take it away.
Thank you. As he said, I'm Sophia Terrell-Knott, and I'll be presenting on empowering women in STEM. So as part of our team, 248 is the organization WOW, which is dedicated to empowering women and girls and supporting gender equality in STEM, and we are powered by SWE-Next. So to start, I will be getting into the state of women and girls in STEM today. It's important to understand where we are so we understand how we can get better and where we can go from here. So the STEM landscape as it exists today. According to the Census Bureau in 2009, the American Community Service, women were nearly 50% of the US workforce, but only 25% of STEM workers. And you'll see that that's remained remarkably consistent. Even though this is a statistic from 2009, it is unfortunately applicable to today as well. Women are vastly underrepresented in the STEM workforce, and we can. It's important to think about the STEM workforce as FIRST and FRC teams. So you can see on this graph how women are in red and men in blue, how men are a much larger percentage of people with jobs that have master's degrees and doctorates and professional degrees. So some statistics, as you can see with this bar graph, which is talking about women in STEM, we can see that even though that was a statistic from 2009, it hasn't really gone up that much now. You can see as recently as 2019, women were only 24% of the STEM workforce. And this, we can see that this comes from somewhere. This doesn't just happen. There are reasons that this is caused. Only 10% of girls said that their parents encouraged an engineering career, and it's really important. And having parent support when pursuing something that requires as much education as a STEM career is very important. However, 21% of girls said that their parents encouraged them to become an actress. So you can see the discrepancy where parents are putting their support. It's not that they're not supporting women in careers; it's that they're supporting women in certain careers. So even though we are vastly in need of people in STEM careers, more so than perhaps actresses, parents are supporting girls taking a certain path, and that is not one of going into a STEM career. And we can see this. More than half of girls said that girls don't typically consider a career in STEM, and there's a host of reasons that we'll get into later. We can see that when more than half of girls say that they're not typically considering a career in STEM, that's already taking away from the amount of people, the amount of women who could go into STEM. So when you see that 24% statistic, that starts young, because when more than half of girls are saying that that people aren't really typically considering that's what they're going to go into, then how are we going to get to 50% if more than 50% of girls are saying that they're not thinking they're going to go into it? So that's where part of the 24% comes from. Additionally, male students are 3 times more likely to be interested in STEM majors and careers. As you can see, that translates into the 76% of people working in STEM being men. We can see that it starts early, that male students are more likely to be interested in STEM majors and careers. And another shocking statistic is that even though 54% of AP test takers in 2012 were female, only 19% of that group took the computer science AP exam. And so we can see that it's not that female students aren't achieving things academically, it's that they're not choosing to pursue STEM paths. So even though they were disproportionately represented in AP test takers, they were vastly underrepresented in CS test takers. So we can see that this is where paths start to diverge, AP tests, which are taken in high schools. It's also important to think about women in leadership. So even though we see discrepancies of the women represented in STEM, we see even higher discrepancies when we think about women represented in leadership among STEM. So we can see that it is only 4% of STEM leadership positions held by women of color. So we can see this intersectionality. It's not just being a woman that is disadvantaging certain people. Being a woman of color makes you doubly disadvantaged. But even with just white women only comprise 22% of leadership positions in the STEM field. And so when we think about what this means is if there's not women for people to look up to as much, because if we think that nearly 75% of leadership positions are held by men, that means that there aren't women at the top of the food chain that are helping to make decisions. We can also see here that if you look at the top with the 48%, 55%, and 38%, those are thinking about what degrees women earn when they go, what degrees and what doctorates they earn when they go to school. So we can see that women are actually achieving at very high levels of education. They're getting 48% of medical school degrees, and then 55% of life science doctorates, and 38% of mechanical chemistry doctorates. So women are very high up there when thinking about how much they're achieving in schools and educationally. However, we see that drop off. So only 50% women represent 50% of entry-level positions in STEM, which is pretty good. But then when we look at leadership positions, it's only 20%, and there's a 30% drop-off. And then if you look at the percentage of board seats on STEM companies, that's only 10%, which is another steep drop-off. And you can see that in the bottom graphic with the lines representing. So you can see that early in the graph with the 50% and the roughly 50-50 percentage, you can see that in early levels, men and women are about represented the same in STEM fields. However, the higher up you go, especially starkly, you can see from manager to mid-level leader, the difference where it just becomes steadily less women are represented the higher up you go. So we can see that women are represented in STEM as an entire field, but then this becomes even more drastic when we look into women being represented in leadership. So why does this matter? Why do we care that women aren't represented as much in STEM, and why they're not represented in leadership? Well, so why does this happen? Why are women not represented in these positions? So 91% of women in STEM careers cited gender discrimination as a career obstacle. And I think this isn't groundbreaking that there is gender discrimination. However, it's shocking the incredibly high percentage of women that have cited this as a career obstacle that they've experienced. More than 9 in 10 women who go into STEM have experienced this and think that it has hurt their careers. That's an overwhelming majority of women that have viewed gender discrimination as harmful to them. So this isn't an article of the past. This isn't something that is happening to a minority of women. This is an overwhelming experience that happens to people across barriers. Additionally, 73% of women cited sexual harassment as an obstacle, which is truly devastating because we'd like to think that this has probably declined since this has become more prevalent with the Me Too movement. However, still, nearly 3/4 of women have cited this as an obstacle to their, not just to how they're feeling, but also to their career trajectory. They feel like it has negatively impacted their career because of the effects of sexual harassment. So these two things could play into the graphic we saw on the last slide about how as people progress in their career, women are less likely to get to those higher leadership positions because they're experiencing gender discrimination and sexual harassment. However, there also there was a study done on postdoc and what they thought their biggest obstacles were. And even though this is a smaller sample of postdoc people, this can also be, I think the findings from here can also be applied to a larger swath of women in STEM. And so that they found that some of the leading sources of why women felt like they couldn't progress or had trouble progressing or decided to leave the STEM field altogether were self-doubt, lack of confidence, family constraints, and lack of role models. And so when we look at the lack of self-doubt and self-confidence, 100% of respondents said that this was an issue for them. And so I think it goes to show there isn't this cultivation of belonging, of saying, yes, even though you're a woman, you belong, you deserve to be here. You should be confident in your abilities. There's this second guessing and feeling as if they don't belong, which can become a struggle. It can become harder to stay in your job if you feel like you shouldn't be there. If you feel like you're not confident, that's not a good environment, and that's not somewhere where women in STEM are going to want to stay in STEM. Additionally, family responsibilities disproportionately fall on women because of gender roles. And so if there are family constraints or family responsibilities, that is going to be harder for women to manage, especially if STEM workplaces aren't able to work around that. So if they're structured in a way that makes it harder for people who also have family responsibilities to then work effectively and feel supported, then that's going to make it harder for women to stay in the STEM workplace. Whereas men might not have the same constraints or responsibilities to their family. They may not feel the need to take care of an aging parent or of children. They might feel like their job is more their field, and so this will not be as this does not hurt men as much. This does not hold men back as much. However, 95% of women found this was an issue. Additionally, there's really a lack of female role models and mentors. And part of this is what I was talking about earlier with women not being in leadership. If there aren't as many women in leadership, then it's hard to have female role models and female mentors. So 93% of women in STEM found that this was an issue. It's also something that we can look at when we think about who do we picture when we picture a scientist. Often what you'll picture is kind of a white guy. And that means that it's harder for women to imagine themselves in science. And additionally, if we look at who are in our textbooks, who are the scientists that we talk about, often these are disproportionately men. And even though it might seem like a small thing, the stories we tell about who belong in science and the stories we tell about scientists do matter. In recent years, there have been more efforts to bring back stories of female scientists who have made impressive discoveries, and that can help. That can help to have role models. That can help for women to imagine themselves in a STEM field in the future, especially young girls, young women in middle and high school, because as we've seen, even early on, there starts to be a division between how many women and how many men are going into STEM.
All right, we're currently experiencing technical difficulties. We cut off for a second. We'll be right back.
Okay, sorry for that, but we're back. Okay, so why is this bad? We've established that there's definitely a discrepancy in how many women are represented in STEM fields, but there are real impacts of why this is hurting people, not just for quality's sake, though I think that's an important reason as well. There are actual tangible negative impacts of not having women represented in STEM. So one study found that that Fortune 500 companies with more women on boards financially outperformed companies with less women on boards. So we can see that having women in leadership positions was actually helpful for the finances of these companies, so that they perform better if there's more women involved, which is kind of the point of the company. You want to have personnel that improve the performance of a company. And so if you're really trying to achieve that, it's important to have women in places of leadership because they do actually help the performances of these companies. Additionally, it's not just about the performances of companies. People's experiences as employees of these companies are also important. It's not all just about profit. It's not all just about company growth. It's also about people being happy and enjoying the jobs that they're at. So if there was a gender balance in jobs and in leadership, there were studies that found that there was increased job satisfaction, lower burnout, and increased employee engagement. So when you think about that having increased job satisfaction is important because it's just how happy you are with your job. Everyone wants to be happy with their job. And that is definitely a positive impact. If there are more women in leadership, people being happier with their job, even if it doesn't lead to more growth, that's just a benefit. Additionally, less burnout is important, which is tied into job satisfaction. And having more employee engagement means that people are going to be feeling like more part of a community and likely more productive in the jobs that they're doing, which is similar to job satisfaction. If you're happier at what you're doing, you're probably going to want to be doing more of it, put more effort into it. And I think an important point to say here is that we're not saying that women are better than men. That's not the case we're making. If 75% of people working in STEM were women, we'd have a whole host of other issues. However, as I think is a key word in the second bullet point, is gender balance. Right now we have an imbalance. We have less women than there should be because there's only about a quarter of people working in STEM are women. However, we want to have more of a balance. We want to have it be more 50-50 because everyone brings an important perspective. And when we value all of these different perspectives, that is what makes us have better solutions. That's what makes companies perform better. That's what improves job satisfaction and employee happiness. So we want to have, it wants to be a collaboration. It's not one over the other. It's having both men and women bring their unique skills and perspectives to the table to improve the world for everyone. I think that's something important, that when we're talking about a gender balance, it's not just job satisfaction or employee engagement for women, it's for everybody. This gender equality helps everybody. And so gender inequality hurts everybody. We can't think about this just as an issue for women and girls and non-binary people. We need to think about this as an issue for everybody. We need to think, and so everybody needs to be part of the solution. Everybody needs to take responsibility and improve the world because it's improving it for everybody, not just for a select group. So what are those solutions? Now that I started talking about solutions. So I think there are some pretty basic ones. One is understanding bias. Just being here and learning about this is an important step in having more women involved in STEM. Because if we don't understand bias, if we don't think there's an issue, then there's no way we're going to solve it. Understanding an issue is always absolutely necessary before solving one. So understanding bias, because bias can work in ways that we might not think. We might think, oh, well, I would not want sexism at all to impact the workplace. However, there are unconscious biases that can, even if you are a woman, even if you are a girl, even if you think, like, I absolutely don't want sexism to impact anything, you can still have unconscious bias. I still have unconscious bias, and it's something that everyone needs to work towards. So understanding bias and understanding how that could impact decisions is absolutely essential in as a first step towards addressing that bias and the systems that cause that. Additionally, as I've touched on before, representation is really important. It's extremely hard to imagine yourself in a STEM field if you don't see anybody like you in that field. It's really hard to imagine doing something at all if you don't have an example to look up to, if you don't have a role model, if you're not represented, it's hard to see yourself there, and therefore it's hard to see that as a goal and take the steps to achieve that goal. So I mentioned it earlier, but in textbooks, who is represented in textbooks? Who do we see on TV when we see scientists? Who do we think of when we think of a scientist? All of these things are important parts of representation, and increasing representation is a way to increase the share of women in STEM. Additionally, mentorship, having a mentor there to help you through your job, to help you through certain challenges is incredibly beneficial and has been shown to drastically increase retention for women in STEM. So how does this impact FIRST teams? Because a lot of this has been about the workplace and STEM in the workplace. However, we can see these things manifest on our teams, and there aren't a lot of statistics here, but just general things we've noticed from our team and from working with other teams is that often girls are in more marketing and communication roles than actual technical roles. And even though there might be more girls on the team, they're not necessarily in the technical roles as well. They're kind of not pushed off, but often in different roles. Additionally, girls can be interested in technical roles, but they don't feel confident. Remember, we talked about the confidence earlier with 100% of women in STEM fields saying that was a reason, or in postdoc feeling that was an issue. it's shown here in our teams as well. Girls wanting to pursue those technical fields, but not feeling confident, not feeling like they can. Additionally, girls feeling that their ideas are not being heard, either because they feel like they're the only one saying it in the room, or they feel like they're being talked over, just not their ideas aren't listened to. Additionally, I've talked a lot about mentoring. We have mentors that are important parts of our teams, but sometimes there aren't as many female mentors. I know that's an issue on our team. We don't have as many female mentors as we'd like to. And additionally, female mentors often don't feel qualified to participate, meaning less female mentors, or they don't feel qualified to participate in the more technical aspects, just like the girls on the team. So these are certain team challenges, and on our team, we wanted to address those. So our solution was WOW. So WOW is a program that we have now partnered with SweenX, and it empowers women and girls to engage in FIRST and just STEM generally. So WOW was created on our team. It's kind of specific to our team, but SweenX is a global organization. So our history, we began in 2013, and the whole goal was to have confidence and provide opportunities for girls on our team, and we wanted to expand to all of FIRST. So a lot of the girls on our team noticed they felt like, wow, we're really in the minority here, even though our team is fairly large. These were, I think, most of the girls on the team at that time. And so there was kind of this feeling like we should do something. We have at least enough girls at this point to start an organization and really take efforts to counteract what we're seeing already on our school level. So the mission is to create gender diversity in STEM, and we do this by recruiting, retaining, and then also engaging girls in FIRST, and then more than that, creating a network with the girls in FIRST and also women professionals, so there can be the sharing of experiences, and just networks are incredibly helpful in making sure people stay in STEM and have opportunities in STEM. So it promotes participation in the field. Okay, so what do we do to do that? That's a great goal, but I mean, like, we do need to do stuff to do that. So one of the main ways we do that is by having Now Wows, which is where we have women professionals that are significant in their field come and speak to us, either on mainly on Zoom, so it's accessible to everybody. And this is just so we have that role model, and so we have those mentorships. And this is important not just for girls to attend, but for everybody to attend, because it's important to see women in STEM at higher at higher levels, for everyone to view that as hopefully the norm at some point. We also have WOW Shop Night. So as we were talking, this is actually a picture from WOW Shop Night, and as I said earlier, there can be a tendency for girls to not feel as comfortable with the technical aspects. So this was kind of an effort that was started so that all the girls on the team would be able to have kind of basic understanding of how to work in the shop, how to work with the machines, so that they could kind of get a taste, and maybe after they got that taste, would feel more inclined to participate in the actual like building of the robot. And so it's run by girls. So again, there's that mentorship aspect. And you can see here, it's just teaching how to use the basic tools, so we can encourage girls on our team to pursue the more technical aspects of building a robot. We also recognize that by the time you get to high school, you're shaped a lot by your formative experiences. You're shaped a lot by what you've already done. I know for me, I didn't join the robotics team until my sophomore year, and I hadn't been involved in a lot of STEM things before. So I felt like I came in with a natural disadvantage. I felt like a lot of people already knew how to code, or already knew how to use all these machines. I felt like I was at a disadvantage, even when I looked into it as a freshman. So we wanted to start young. We wanted to have there be gender equality in STEM early on. So we've reached out to local elementary schools to encourage a co-ed STEM environment. So we're not just having programs for girls, we're having programs that encourage girls to join, but are, as we've seen, as we've actually experienced, is roughly 50-50 at a really young age, and promoting that, hoping that would continue on. So by having all genders participate together at a younger age, hoping that will make everyone feel like they belong and everyone feel like they have a place learning about science. And so that will hopefully continue on, and we're hoping see more improvements in the number of girls on our team as a high school. We also have Operation 2485. So we found that there was kind of this cordoning off, like, oh wow, it's all just for the girls. All the girls just go off and do their wow things and then whatever. And a lot of the guys had no idea what WoW did, and weren't really invested in WoW's success. And that, as I've said before, it's important for everybody to be involved in WoW. It's important for everybody to be involved in working towards a more equal future, because gender inequality hurts everybody. And a lot of times the people in positions of power are men. And so it's important that men view it as a significant issue. So Operation 285 is a team-wide event that is sponsored by WoW and kind of put on by the girls on the team. And it's designed to have the whole team appreciate what WoW does, and have the whole team be like, oh, like WoW actually does stuff and can be cool for the entire team and not just for the girls. So it's kind of to embrace WoW as a part of the entire team and make everyone feel like they have they're invested and they have they will be benefiting from WoW. And the Operation 285 basically builds these big numbers that have 2485, and then they stand in the shop all year. So it's kind of a fun team bonding activity too, to say that like WoW isn't just like boring, it's actually really fun and engaging. Today. So I've talked a lot about WoW, but this year we've become a SWE Next chapter, and this we used to have chapters of WoW across different teams, across different countries, but we found that it was actually hard to keep that up, and that there was this wonderful thing called SWE Next that allowed that already had this existing amazing network of teams within FIRST, and then also it continues on to the professional field, and it provides us with so many more connections and opportunities. So what is SWE Next? There's a lot of text on the side because it does a ton. So SWE stands for Society of Women Engineers, and it goes well beyond high school. It goes to college, and then it is a professional organization, and it's international. So all across the world, there are SWE chapters and SWE Next chapters. So SWE Next is kind of the high school. It's like their effort to get more girls involved at higher levels. So they've recognized that, well, actually, we need to start in high school. So SWE Next is targeted towards high school. So that's why we are a SWE Next chapter. And the mission is basically, it's pretty similar to WoW, but it's an actual existing organization with a ton of networks. So it's to prepare girls for careers in STEM, to help them to develop leadership skills and self-confidence, which are vital for succeeding in STEM careers. And then also just to expand what people imagine. They imagine STEM professionals and those professions, and hoping that that has a positive force and improves the quality of life for people who want to pursue STEM professions. They also want to empower students to become advocates for their peers and for people that are younger than them, to increase gender equality. And they want to, show that there's value in diversity, equity, and inclusion, show that it's not just something we do because it's right. Even though I think that's a very important thing, that it does help people. It has concrete positive impacts. It also provides opportunities for people to learn from and to network with peers. So in this case, it'd be people on other robotics teams, but also role models and professionals. We part of WoW went to a networking event put on by the Titan Bots, where we were able to talk to women engineers, SWE members, and network and just learn from their experiences, but also have the opportunity to contact them in the future. I know we definitely were really excited to hear from some of these people, because they provided us with opportunities, and also because we were excited that we could reach out to them at a later date for NowWows, which again are just presentations from women that are prominent in their fields, to provide, again, those role models and mentors. So SWE Next is kind of this network of resources that are really helpful in promoting girls in STEM, because it's associated with SWE, which is a really powerful organization. So how to join? If you're interested in joining SWE Next, one things that you need to have a SWE counselor. So this has to be a SWE member or an education member. And then if you don't know, if you have somebody who can fulfill the role, you can email this email. And then if you're in San Diego, I know that some of the teams here aren't in San Diego, you can reach out to this email because that's a bit more localized. But regardless of where you are, you're definitely going to have like a local SWE kind of organizer. So it might not be it might not be this person, but there'll probably be somebody. If you just go on to like SWE or SWE Next and type in the name of your city or the area you live in, there will definitely be something that comes up. So you can do that. Also, you can visit the site. Hyperlink doesn't work because it's a presentation, but if you want, you can scan this QR code, and this will give you the link to kind of sign up to be a SWE chapter. So if you fill out the questions and you submit them, then you should be reached out and they should talk to you about starting a SWE chapter. So if that is overwhelming or you're not sure yet and you need to talk to other people before starting a chapter, please DM our Instagram at wow.swenext.2485 or email a wadwa2023@francisparker.org. And that's with any questions. That's Alicia. She's the head of WOW, but unfortunately wasn't able to present today. But if you have any questions about that that you don't think of until later, please make use of that because we'd really love to support you in starting a SWE Next chapter to address the issues we've talked about today. Additionally, we are having a NowWow with Jennifer Kurtz, and she is a technology executive with over 20 years of experience developing strategy for software companies, delivering world-class B2B software, and leading software and infrastructure engineering excellence. She's currently the Chief Technology Officer at Infinite Blue, where she has responsibility for development of commercial software solutions, corporate infrastructure and technology, and cybersecurity. Before she joined Infinite Blue, she was the Chief Technology Officer at Vertex, where she oversaw all commercial software engineering and the architecture, design, development, and support across a wide portfolio of software products. She also held software architecture and engineering positions at Verizon and Platinum Technology, now called Broad.com. So she is incredibly accomplished in her field, and we're having a now with her tomorrow night. So we would love for people to sign up. Nope. Okay. So the form to sign up is here. I realize now that it's probably a bit difficult to get that as the way you're watching, but I will send it in the Zoom chat, and hopefully anyone here can send that to you if you'd be interested in going to that. The last thing we have is, as I mentioned before, there's a lot of implicit bias. Sometimes it's uncomfortable to think that you have implicit bias, but taking the implicit bias test is really revealing. So here's the QR code. You can just scan it you can just use your phone to use your camera. And this gives you I think it's a Harvard bias test, and it has words that are associated with careers and words that are associated with certain, and then it has you group them into like gender, and it flips things. It's hard to explain, but it was really interesting when I took it. Because you want to think so badly, like, no, I'm above this, but it really is kind of a really societal issue, and it's ingrained in everybody, regardless of your gender. And so it's important to kind of recognize bias, recognize that no one's immune from bias, and that regardless how badly you want to be, how educated you are about these issues, you still have this implicit bias, and understanding that and knowing that you have that is vital for being able to counteract it in your everyday lives. So if you want to take a little picture, that is very helpful and I think illuminating. So any questions?
All right. Thank you for your presentation. Let's get to the questions. First of all, how diverse are FRC teams right now, and how can we work to improve that?
So I was trying to research this prior to giving the presentation because I wanted to know that exact same thing. And I wasn't able to find very much from FIRST. I was able to find something that somebody in high school put together, but I didn't really want to use that data because I thought that might not be the most reliable. So I think the best thing we can do right now is to look at our teams around us, look at who's on your team. I'm not sure about the broader picture. I think it probably reflects pretty closely to what I presented on the larger STEM landscape. But I think if you just think about your team, because your team is what you impact most directly, think about how diverse your team is and how you'd like to see that change, improve, or if it's great already, how you'd like to maintain that.
All right, on to the next question. How can we implement more representation of women in STEM fields in order to encourage more young women to pursue higher STEM education?
So I think what I was talking about with WOW, about having more women visible as role models and mentors, and having more, if we're thinking specifically about FIRST, having more female mentors, because I think seeing women in higher positions in STEM kind of empowers girls to pursue those paths, and also making sure that you're consciously making your team a welcoming place for girls. Often it's these little things you don't even notice. It's just if you look and see, speaking from my personal experience, if I look and I see a group is mainly guys, I might think, oh, maybe I don't want to go there. Maybe I wouldn't fit in exactly. So making sure that you're just looking around. Like if you ever are in a room with a bunch of other people for a robotics team, just looking around and thinking like, like, is this diverse? Is this representative maybe of our entire school body? Or is this a certain subsection? And making sure there aren't comments that could make people feel unwelcome. And if there are, standing up to those and making sure to correct for those biases.
All right. How important do you think it is to create programs to involve women in STEM starting as early as elementary school?
I mean, given that I presented on this and we have programs as early as elementary school, I think it's pretty important. I think, as I was talking about the implicit bias test, I think we're all products of the society we live in, and often we don't even understand how we're being shaped by the media we consume. If you think about just movies you see, all of the stereotypes in movies, all of those are kind of some of our earliest role models, the earliest things we see and help us form our perception of the world, just the people we're seeing around us and how they interact with the world. Those form biases very early on, and we'd love to think that children don't have any biases, but they do because they're formed by the world they live in just like we are. And if we really take steps to correct that as early as possible, then that will have ripple effects later in their lives, later in everyone's lives. So I think it's incredibly important to start as early as possible, because if we have nothing you can see by the time you get to high school, there are already discrepancies, as I talked about with the AP test. Even though girls take 54% of AP tests, it was only 19% for computer science. So that's in high school. If we don't start earlier, obviously there's already discrepancy in high school. So it's really necessary to start as early as possible.
All right. How do you think a lack of women in STEM is directly affecting the world the most right now?
I think it's in a million small ways, as I was saying before, with lower job satisfaction, with just companies not achieving as much as they could be. Women bring a unique perspective, and not having women at the table means that certain needs aren't addressed, certain ideas are just never heard. And I also think that it's really important to think about certain women's issues that aren't being addressed as much. If we don't have women talking about women's issues, then they're not going to be heard. It's not like people are like intentionally not hearing women's ideas. It's just like, if you're a guy, there's stuff you might not think about. You might, because you have different experiences, that means that you're not going to act in the same way as a woman might in that circumstance. So your experiences shape how you act and who you are and what ideas you have and what perspective you bring to things. So having only one perspective, or not one perspective, but one perspective being the majority, means that there is just less potential. Women have a ton of potential, and we're not using that to its fullest. We're not using all the ideas, all the perspectives, all the experiences that women could bring to the table. And so we're limiting our potential as a world because we're not making use of all the things that women could do. So I think there's not like one sector that is really limited. I think it's just, we could be doing so much more if we like just had all the women that could be in STEM.
All right. Do you feel that male team members inherently perceive an equality issue, or do they need to be educated via WOW or other programs?
I think that really is a like case by case basis. I don't think like making a general statement about like, oh, guys, like view inequality this way is what I'm here to do. I think that when you experience something personally, it becomes more salient for you. And I think it's just that when you're not like immediately negatively impacted by sexism, it's just you're not going to think about it as much. And that's perfectly natural. And I don't think that's like, I don't think I would fault somebody for that. But I think that we need to go beyond our natural instinct, and we need to take steps to ensure that. I know that there are some guys on our team who have really been great in helping and supporting the girls on our team. But there are some guys who just don't see it as much of an issue, and this education is important. So I think it can go both ways, but I think education is important not because people are like actively like, oh my goodness, sexism is not an issue. It's just that people don't realize it is.
Do you think WOW will ever be branched outside of FIRST?
I don't think so, but because of the direction we've chosen to go with WOW, WOW, before this year, we had chapters in other FIRST teams, but we've kind of chosen to change the direction we're going with WOW. WOW is more something specifically for our team, but SWE Next, we kind of chose to do that because SWE Next already exists, and so it's kind of pointless to try to make another smaller version of SWE Next. Why do that when SWE Next already exists? And so SWE Next is kind of like WOW, but like everywhere. So there's really no need for WOW to do that when WOW is specific to our team, and SWE Next is across FIRST, and also it has high school chapters that aren't just in FIRST. I realize I may have been misleading with something I said earlier, but across high schools, across colleges, and then professionally. So SWE Next, I think, takes care of that.
What WOW initiatives or strategies do you think are the most effective in encouraging girls to pursue STEM?
I think one of the most useful things WOW does is cultivate leadership skills for girls. I know that one of the main ways that before I had leadership positions in other parts of the team, one of the main ways I got comfortable just drafting emails, which seems like such a small thing, but was really terrifying for me, or leading presentations like this one, was through WOW. And so I think one of the incredible ways WOW has helped girls on our team is having this little like area where they can work on leadership skills, and also creating a sense of community. I know when we present to middle schoolers that could be coming to our school and saying like, hey, like join robotics. A big reason that we have more girls joining is because of WOW. And so I think just it allows for places of leadership. It allows for more of a community of girls on the team. And it creates that network that like, oh, you should join this part of the team. Oh, you should do this. It just creates a better environment. And I think that is the most direct impact on our team. But having the now wows, having the elementary school outreach, having the Operation 245, all of those are important in having like impacts in other schools, and making sure that those impacts from the leadership positions kind of continue.
All right. What would you consider to be the biggest factor of the gender gap in STEAM? Is it mostly lack of confidence, lack of representation, or something else?
I don't think it's important to think about what's the one most important issue, because the reality is that the world doesn't exist in a vacuum. And like all of these issues are connected, and all of them, like addressing just one is not going to get rid of the issue. I think I had the statistics that showed that all of them are pretty prevalent. I mean, one was 100%, one was 95, one was 93. I think all of those, if you're not addressing any of them, is like a failure. You need to address all of them. So I also think like my opinion specifically on like which one's most important isn't like super important, because I think all of them and everyone might have a different opinion on what's the most important, but following like what the data says is more important.
All right. If there's anybody else in chat who wants to ask any questions, feel free to do so right now.
Also, here I'm sending the link to sign up for our NowWow, which we would love if you could come. It is 6 to 7 tomorrow.
All right, thank you for your time. I'd like to thank everybody for coming to this stream today, and if you're still here, be sure to like and subscribe, and have a good evening.